Welcome to Bunch Formation, your new favorite college football podcast. I'm Chris Vanini. And David, I had a dream last night that Chip Kelly became the interim head coach at UCLA. What do you think of that idea?
I think he was kind of always the interim coach at UCLA, it seems like, right? So I am David Ubben, and I'm a man. I'm 38, and I have a mic arm, Chris. The mic arm situation, we'll do a tight 10 minutes on it. It's been a saga since I moved, but we're back. We're doing well. We're doing good.
We have seen the comments from people concerned about David's mic volume situation. He had it fixed, then it wasn't. It is now fixed. We're good.
To be fair, I'm a generally loud person. I've been told my voice. The amount of times in school that teachers told me your voice carries, it's a lot. So some of that is self-inflicted, but some of it is an equipment issue. Hopefully it's fixed. I don't know, Chris. We'll find out. Depends on how fired up you get me on the show. You start talking about the Rose Bowl or Lakes again, we might have some more complaints about the microphone.
The nice thing is I have the ability to kind of control your volume up a little bit here, so I've capped it a bit. Hopefully, we'll see.
Chris, no one has the ability to control my volume. I promise you that.
Folks, we have a ton to talk about on this episode. It is a loaded week of games. Penn State, Oregon, Georgia, Alabama. This is maybe the biggest week of the season so far, even more than week one. Like week one had some marquee stuff, but now we're a couple weeks in. I think this weekend is even better. We also have a ton of news to talk about. Mike Gundy is fired. John Mateer is undergoing surgery. The ACC is changing its schedule and a lot more. So go into the show notes. We got timestamps in there for everything. If you want to jump around to other parts of the show, please send all feedback, questions, mailbag, everything to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Bunch Formation on all your social media channels. Please give us a 5-star rating and a review. We'll read all the 5-star ones we can on the show. Actually, I looked it up. We actually have more 5 stars on Spotify than Apple Podcasts, even though we have a lot more listeners on Apple Podcasts. So thank you for that. However, Spotify does not allow you to give reviews. So people have been doing it in the comments. We are appreciative of that. Got one review here off of Apple from Benjamin Stone 14, who says, I'm a Presbyterian college graduate who has gotten 2 of my other PC friends into following the pod. We're very proud of our alma mater having won 8 straight to have the 3rd longest active D1 win streak in college football, but we are very disappointed in our FBS teams, Clemson, UNC, South Carolina, in the state. Between Dabo, Beamer, and Belichick, who do you think is on the hottest seat? We love the pod and hope you enjoyed your time in Greenville.
Chris, I got to tell you, I think the Presbyterian college people still hate me, actually. I wrote about them a couple years ago.
You did when Kevin Kelly, the old high school coach who never punts and doesn't only onside kicks, you wrote about him.
Yeah,
it went terrible.
I'm interested to know what happened there, because it was kind of a disaster. And people took issue with his explanation of what happened there. So
it was fun to look through. It was fun.
Presbyterian college people.
It was fun to look through the box scores that year. But yeah, Presbyterian 4-0, ranked in the FCS top 25 for the first time ever. So shout out to the Blue Hose. We love all of college football here. All right.
Should we answer his question briefly, Chris? Dabo, Belichick, who's on the hottest seat? I mean, I would say
it's Belichick because Dabo's not going anywhere. His buyout is $60 million.
Yeah, but what's the Belichick buyout at this point, right?
He has 3 years guaranteed, so it's probably like 30. But he might leave before then. I don't know. It's not going.
Yeah,
well.
It's possible. I always tell people, it's my favorite phrase when it comes to these buyouts and all these things. The only thing more expensive than winning in college football is losing in college football. And if you've got a situation, and we'll see what the Belichick thing becomes. Right now, the trajectory is very bad. And they look kind of hapless. And if that doesn't change, $30 million is going to look like chump change, compared to what it's going to cost you if you're just going 3-9 for the next 3 years. So we'll see.
Yes. And with that, it's time to jump into the news of the week. That means it's time for the media scrum.
That's why I don't read the newspaper. Because it's garbage.
We're starting off with that very person, Mike Gundy. We are going to keep that, by the way, that drop. I love it, even though he's no longer the coach at Oklahoma State.
That sound drop was brought to me by a mother, Chris. of children.
Of children. Everyone remembers I'm a
we
man.
can revisit that rant. The 18th anniversary was this week. Like, it's an incredible rant. And it's interesting, too, that Bobby Reed, who that rant was actually about, felt like it ruined his life. He gets eventually transferred from Oklahoma State. Very good, by the way, real player and very good video game player on the NCAA video game back in the day, Bobby Reed. But the legacy of that rant, directed it at my former colleague, Jenny Carlson, one of the greats in the business.
I saw her on
Bobby
Saturday.
Reed.
Yeah, I saw
Jenny's
her on
great.
Saturday at Oklahoma.
So anyway, go ahead.
Mike Gundy fired weirdly on Tuesday, like 4 days after the game, and they play this week, by the way. And according to the AD, Chad Weiberg, no negotiated buyout. He's going to get the whole thing, so I'm not sure why it took so long. Look, this program dramatically fell downward because Mike Gundy failed to adjust. This is a team that 2 years ago played in the Big 12 championship game. Like it got so bad so fast. That's what's so surprising. It ends with, I think, 11 straight losses to FBS teams. He loses to Tulsa last week, and it's unfortunate because he was a fun character to have in college football, but just a guy who didn't adapt to the times. And I think we've seen that in so many situations. Gary Patterson at TCU, very similar deal. He also got let go during the season. They have a statue of him up there, and they still did it. This is modern college football. You have to win, and you can't just if coaches are not on top of things, it can spiral very quickly. Dave, any thoughts on just the end of Mike Gundy's tenure?
Yeah, man. Listen, if you didn't want to like Mike Gundy, he gave you a lot of reasons. So anybody who really disliked him, I'm not going to stand in your way. I had spent a lot more time with him, earlier in my career when I was covering the Big 12 way more closely. And I really enjoyed covering Mike's teams, enjoyed covering him. He was a character, but he was interesting and honest, and you learned a lot talking to him, which is not the case in talking to a lot of coaches. And he always treated me really, really well. I mean, that 2011 Big 12 title run, I was in Stillwater a ton. And Mike would finish his press conference, and then we would go outside and talk for like 20 minutes, some on the record, some off the record. And I learned a lot about that team, about his coaching philosophy. And I think Mike, early in his career, he was a workaholic. He was the, 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. guy, and he demanded the same of his staff. And around 2010, about when he brought Dana Holgerson in, something in him flipped and just there's got to be another way. And they worked more normal hours, and the program thrived, and he didn't work his coaches to death. You want them to go to their kids, soccer games, don't miss that stuff, all of that. And the program really thrived under that. And so listen, like I said, Mike's given a lot of people a lot of reasons not to like him. I don't disagree, or I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he has said and done over the years. But on a person-to-person basis, I really enjoyed having Mike in the sport. I hope he gets back in somewhere. And also, they would have beaten LSU in 2011 to win the national championship. That's just true. I wish they'd gotten that opportunity, and they didn't. And the circumstances around that Iowa State loss that year were really tragic. And, the football element of that is pretty trivial compared to the people that lost their lives, ahead of that and the impact that had on the program and the university. But they would have beat LSU that year.
Yeah, there was a plane crash like a day or two before that game involving.
I think it was overnight.
The women's basketball
coach Kurt Budke and some other people, and
the
way that they kind of rallied around the women's program and Kurt's wife, and was really touching the rest of that season. And Brandon Whedon, Justin Blackman, Justin Gilbert, that team, that era of Oklahoma State football was really, really fun. And like I said, I'm gonna miss Mike Gundy in college football. Hopefully, he gets back in some way. I'd like to see him on TV. If he's not a coach, he'll be good.
Surely.
And also build a statue of him. But can I offer this piece of advice, Chris? Make the mullet real hair so that it can flow in the wind.
Well, not real hair. But not real hair. It'll have to be fake hair, but some sort of hair. Yeah.
Listen, I'm all for authenticity, whatever you got to do, but I need to see that thing blowing in the wind. Otherwise, it's going to feel inauthentic.
That big run for Gundy was when he kept hiring really good offensive coordinators, Dana Holgerson, Todd Monken, and then he had Jim Knowles, a really good defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then he kind of lost some of that, and the program dipped a little bit, and it wasn't as consistent before a pop up late. In terms of this job, it's a mixed bag when you talk to people around the industry about how good this job is.
Yeah.
They made 18 straight bowl games, so you can win here. You're also in the Big 12, which is a winnable conference. You don't have to go up against Texas and Oklahoma.
Like you said, Chris, in the Big 12 championship 2 years ago, didn't have to do anything supernatural to do that.
Yes. So there is a decently high ceiling here. There is a path to the college football playoff and everything that comes with that. Financially, there are ups and downs with it. I mean, Mike Gundy, said famously before Oregon that they had spent $7 million on players while Oregon was spending tens of millions. He loved to talk about how much money they didn't have, even though a lot of that program was bankrolled by T. Boone Pickens and hundreds of millions of dollars he put into the program too. So Pickens, who is no longer around, the AD Chad Weiberg he's been working without a contract since June. There was a report on Tuesday that he did get offered a new contract, but he didn't confirm or deny if he signed it, but he will be leading the surge. That was a question. People have been wondering, are they also going to make an AD change and bring somebody else in? It appears that is not the case. So that could bring some stability. The university president resigned earlier this year. There's some audit scandal thing that they're dealing with. So the leadership of the school has been kind of hit and miss. But you saw it in the release, the press release. Everybody firing their coach now is like, fans, we need you, and we need you to give us money now. We have to come together to fix this, and we have to fix it now. It's the same thing Virginia Tech said, which is like, we can't afford to get this wrong, because in 4 or 5 years, we may have another big round of conference realignment, and we want to be a part of that. So don't abandon us now. We need that. So we'll see. Gundy's pay salary was like top 20 nationally, so like pretty good. So it's like okay money-wise, but it's not obviously at the top level there. Dave, also connections to Texas could be important. That's where you get a lot of your players.
Yeah.
Let me list you. I'll list a handful of names here. Tell me anybody that jumps out to you think would be a good fit. Texas State coach G.J. Kinney, Texas A&M OC Colin Klein, North Texas head coach Eric Morris, UTSA coach Jeff Traylor, Oklahoma OC Ben Arbuckle, Atlanta Falcons OC Zach Robinson, Miami OC Shannon Dawson, and there were some potential others. But of that group, anybody jump out to you that you like?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of momentum around Zach Robinson. Whether or not he
former quarterback at Oklahoma State.
Yes, threw a bunch of balls to Des Bryant in his day. That feels like you're violating my golden rule of coaching searches. If nobody else in your division or conference would hire that coach, do not hire that coach. I don't care how tight he has a tie to your university. To me, I would lean toward Jeff Traylor. I want to see what Jeff Traylor does in a place where you have some resources that are commensurate with the rest of the programs in your conference. And I think UTSA's kind of got it going a little bit this year, but he's been he hasn't been as hot of a name as it's been. But you have a guy who's proven at a bunch of different levels to be able to run a program. And if you are running a program as a Texas high school coach and then doing it at UTSA, and then obviously coming up as an assistant very quickly as he did, you've seen the sport in a lot of different ways. I want to have a program guy, a guy who can do the whole thing holistically. And Jeff Traylor, don't let the accent fool you, very much into the new era of college football and has done his best to try and allow UTSA to do that. So if it's me, Traylor isn't going to be the same hot candidate that some people are. Like you talk to people around Arkansas about Jeff Traylor and they're like, I don't know. It's like, I think he could do a lot worse. So if I'm Oklahoma State, that's probably my first call. But
I would say
you look at some of these coordinators, the Colin
real quick on Traylor. People around ADs and people around the country have wanted to see how can he do without Frank Harris, because they had that run of like 32 wins in 3 years. And they've dipped since then. The other thing is his buyout to leave UTSA is still $5 million because he signed that really big contract a few years ago that people were stunned with a huge buyout for him to leave. Very disadvantageous to him. I don't know why he signed it. So it'll cost a little bit to get him out of there as well. But what do you think of the others?
I just want, man, if I'm Oklahoma State, I just want experience, man. I want a guy who's run a program,
Yeah.
and I've seen him succeed. And you got to have somebody that's aggressive, because you got to forget the money. For coaches, you got to find money for players. And I think you can shake some trees at Oklahoma State and try to figure out, how to do that and how to be competitive. If not, in the top couple in the Big 12, I think you've got some potential to do that. But
I'm
gotta
very
work
interested.
at it, and that was one of the issues with Mike Gundy, is he wasn't going to work at that. I think he just was not comfortable with it. I
think G.J. Kinney and Eric Morris are both really interesting guys. Both guys that are under 40, and they sort of work together. G.J. Kinney had a big year at Incarnate Word, and he's doing really well at Texas State. 8-5 his first 2 years. They'd never been to a bowl game. They're 3-1 this year, and he played at Tulsa, so he's got some connections up there. Eric Morris at North Texas, he built that Incarnate Word program that then G.J. Kinney took over. And his first couple of years at North Texas, kind of up and down, but they're 4-0 this year. They have fixed the defense with Skylar Cassidy, the DC. He played at Texas Tech. He's part of that. He's kind of that Leach Holgerson tree as well. I think both those guys, young, energetic, high offense. I feel like both those guys could fit. I think those are two I'm looking at. Colin Klein has been getting a lot of respect too for what he's been doing at Texas A&M. And like you said, people at Oklahoma State want Zach Robinson because they love him, but he's never coached in college football before. He's only been a coach for 5 years anyway. 6 years.
And be careful. Last thing before we move on, Chris, I think the other thing about this that's interesting is, you can talk about Mike Gundy flirting with, jobs over the years. It was like Tennessee twice. Did Arkansas get in the mix there? I forget.
Funny thing about Tennessee, real quick, Tennessee. So remember when they fired John Curry amid the Schiano disaster, and they released to people who requested all the text messages and stuff for all the coaches and agents who were interested in that job. Gundy tries to meet with Tennessee people in Dallas, and they fly into different Dallas airports and didn't realize it. And they didn't know if one should go to Love Field or DFW. And living down here, it's a very funny thing to
They're
imagine.
very far.
Funny.
They are not close. Yeah.
It was funny to see kind of the inner workings of a coaching search and how sometimes they're just like us.
Yeah, but the point is, flirting aside, Gundy was an Oklahoma State lifer. I never believed he was going to leave. And I don't know that there's that many people who see Oklahoma State as a lifer job. And that's something that in this coaching search I might be thinking about is, Les Miles used it as a stepping stone to get to LSU. Won a national
Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson was there before Miami.
Jimmy Johnson is a good example. Like, I think people have gotten used to Gundy, and I think Oklahoma State maybe thinks of themselves as a destination job. And I'm like, it's not. It might be for some people. And I don't want to get a guy that is going to go 9-3 and leave at the first boat out. I think that's
I think you do. I think in today's college football, you deal with that. You'll take the wins and you'll do the reset if you have to. Because Gundy was the perfect guy to run that program because, like you said, he was going to stay. The program's a sub 500 program before he got there. Most of all of the history of the program is him. And so now he created a foundation that makes this job appealing for the next crop of guys.
And I don't know if he would do this, and I think a lot of this will depend on how he feels about it. But you remember, Chris, we were sitting at Big 12 Media Days this year, and Gundy was in the room with us, and he was talking to our colleague, Justin Williams, who wrote a thing about Gundy's sort of last stand. And he said something that was interesting that I hadn't thought about, which is 100% true. He said, nobody knows more about Oklahoma State football than me, on planet Earth. And whoever the next guy is, I'm curious if Gundy would be willing to be a sounding board consultant. Just he knows what the challenges are, what you've got to do, maybe get you in the door in some high schools. It'd be interesting.
Well, Gary Patterson went and worked for Texas after he got let go
exactly.
by TCU.
That's what I'm saying. I'm curious how that would go. I can't imagine he's super thrilled, but $15 million and not being weird about the buyout might help. But I don't know how that will go. My guess is it will not happen. But whoever follows up, if they can have that relationship, I think that'd be a hugely valuable thing.
Yeah. He'll always have that they won the last Bedlam, which I was at a very cool scene. Speaking of Bedlam, good transition by me. Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer is going to miss some time. He's underwent hand surgery on Wednesday. He'll miss at least the next 2 weeks, the bye week, and then Kent State, and the TBD on if he'll be available after that. This is a huge deal. He apparently injured it in the first quarter against Auburn. It looked like when he was making a throw and his hand got hit on a follow through. I was at the game. I rewatched the broadcast. There was no indication he was hurt, that it was bothering him. There's no wincing. There's no nothing. We talked to him
Supposedly
after
he was shaking it a little bit. Like
we talked to him after the game, and it was like whatever. And he finished that game completing 15 of 16 passes and led them to the win in the fourth quarter. That dude is tough as hell. This sucks.
And by the way, it's his throwing hand. That's it's a dumb issue. So
this sucks because he's been a heck of a lot of fun, and Oklahoma has been one of the best teams in the country so far. And so now you've got Michael Hawkins coming in. He started a handful of games last year, didn't do great, but the surrounding cast around him is much better this year. He'll have pretty much 3 weeks of practice before Texas as the QB1. This shakes up everything about this college football season. I feel like it didn't get as much reaction on Tuesday as it should have. This is huge.
I mean, he's was he the front runner to the betting favorite for the Heisman? It was close, right?
Yeah.
He's been playing really well. 10 games in a row with a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown. I came away with this kind of like you did, Chris. Just me reading the tea leaves. What it felt like happened is like, he's finishing the game up. He's like, my hand hurts. Probably Sunday, my hand really hurts. And then Monday, he's probably practicing. He's like, my hand hurts. It's probably swelling at this point. I'm guessing he just didn't get it checked out. And then like probably Tuesday, he was like, I should have somebody look at this. It's not just like a bruise or something. And then because for it to come out this late, like there's no way they looked at this on Sunday. He probably just didn't tell anybody is my guess.
Yeah.
And so, there's something to be said for the toughness there. Hopefully it didn't cause more of an issue. But that's pretty crazy. You don't see that a lot of a guy obviously finishing the game. And then, this comes out like on a Tuesday. So, but yeah, hopefully we can see him back. He's been very fun this year.
They've got the schedule after Kent State. It's Texas and then South Carolina.
On the road.
And then it's off to the races from there. Like it's Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU.
It sounds like they're hoping he can get back for South Carolina, but it looks like it's going to be the Michael Hawkins show for Red River. Michael Hawkins played at Red River last year, didn't he? He
did, and it went terribly.
It was bad. It was very bad. I was at LSU that weekend, and it was. Oof.
Now, again, just like Jackson Arnold, didn't have the top 5 wide receivers, didn't have an offensive line. I'll be at Red River in a few weeks. I hope it's a good game because a handful of these have been blowouts, and that was gonna be like a top 5 game potentially. So we will see. John Mateer, get well soon, man, because you have been one of the really fun parts of college football this year. News over in the ACC this week: the conference is going to move to 9 conference games. Mostly. So we don't know yet. They didn't announce like when this is happening. It has to be approved full, but the athletic directors have voted to do it based on people in the ACC that I've talked to. The idea is next year, some teams will play 9, some teams will play 8. Some teams already have non-conference games against ACC teams. You just make that a conference game, obviously. But like Florida State's got, but like
college
Florida
football,
State,
Chris, college football.
but like Florida State's got to go back to Alabama and wants to do that, and so we'll see on those things. And then the idea being, in 2027, 16 teams play 9, 1 plays 8, because you have 17 teams. The math doesn't work. You can't have everybody play 9. And so not only will they play 9, they'll play 1 Power 4 game. The team that plays 8 will play 2. How exactly you determine conference standings, not fully determined yet. It seems most likely you just go by conference win percentage if that 8-game team is in the mix, just like we did in 2020 with COVID when you played an unequal amount of games. It's unlikely, it seems, that you would count Notre Dame. Like Clemson's got a lot of Notre Dame games on the schedule moving forward as well. So it's not fully set, but we will now have every Power 4 conference playing 9 conference games, except for one team. And everyone but the Big Ten requires an additional Power 4 game. What do you think of this?
I mean, it's been a long time coming. Obviously, since the SEC dam broke and they moved to 9, it's felt like a matter of time. I've made this comparison for years, Chris. It's like if the NFC played 18 games, the AFC played 16 games. Like it's been insane for a long time that the conference has played an uneven amount of conference games. So I'm glad we got everybody to 9. You know, in my perfect world, we'd have smaller conferences. We'd play 7 conference games and 5 non-conference games. But in the super conference era, you can't do that. You got to have teams playing each other. I'm beginning to wonder if super conferences don't make a lot of sense for the sport, Chris. I don't know. When we're getting into, 8 teams, one team playing 8 games conference play, another team playing 9, or everybody else playing 9. I'm wondering if this doesn't really make sense as a sport. But ultimately, we've had to get to everybody on the same plane. I'm glad we're finally there. So
I honestly don't think this is a big deal and don't care as much because I don't care if it's equal across conferences because conferences
why? It has to be.
because the conferences now are so big that it's equal across conferences. It's not equal within conferences. Playing 9 SEC games can be a very different thing compared to another team playing 9. It depends who those 9 are. So
but we still got to have the same number, Chris. We got to have the same number.
I've always people always criticize the SEC for playing 8 forever. When it was like everybody was at 8. The Big Ten and the Pac-12 chose to go to 9 for conference network TV reasons, and then they complained that other people didn't follow. And it's like, it's your fault for doing that. It's your fault, Pac-12, for having your best team play on a Friday night.
I agree with you, but we still got to have them in the same number of games. I'd be fine going back to 8. I want more non-conference games, and I want some mandates. If everybody went from, most conferences are at 9-1, right? I forget if does the Big Ten have a requirement? I don't think.
No, they don't. They're the only ones that don't. Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. I much prefer the requirement of 10 Power 4 games. Whether they're conference games or not doesn't matter that much to me. That's what I want equal.
If we went to 8-2, I would like that. I mean, people make a big deal of Texas A&M and Georgia haven't played in that long. I don't.
They've played
really
one time.
Care about I don't really care that much about that because they don't care about each other. So.
I didn't when there were divisions, but now that you're all part of the same conference, and Georgia has never played to Texas A&M in the 13 years they've been in the same conference, that's a problem. And so ultimately, it's good. It's ultimately, I guess, good that we're getting here. It's not going to stop Indiana and Penn State from playing nobody in the non-conference schedule for the next several years, but we'll see. The details of this still need to be worked out, but we are going to have some uniformity. And now the big talking point from Tony Petitti about his playoff thing no longer applies. I would think this helps us get another step to 5+11 if they expand. There is a college football playoff meeting this week. I do not expect news to come out of it. So we'll see. One last bit of news, sad news out of UCF. Offensive line coach Shawn Clark died this week at 50 years old. He was hospitalized in September for what was a medical emergency, but it appeared he had been in stable condition. Clark, former head coach at App State from 20 to 24. He was an assistant before that. Former All-American offensive lineman there in the 1990s. And just an all-around great dude. I visited App State in 2019 when Eli Drinkwitz was the coach. And that year, Shawn Clark had gotten a couple of coaches to go hike a mountain nearby. It's called the Knob. And they won the first game of the season. So every day before the game after that, he'd gather more coaches. They'd all start going up it every week. He continued that when he was head coach. I did it with them in 2019. It's a pretty big hike to go up that mountain. And a guy that just loved Appalachian State so much, his alma mater. Everybody wanted him to get the job when Eli Drinkwitz left, and he did. Every time I'd see him at a media days or a coach's event or something, he'd always ask me, when are you coming back to climb the mountain again? And he was a great hang, offensive line guy, big guy. That was the year that him, Ryan Silverfield, and Sam Pittman all got jobs, head coaching jobs. And offensive line guys do not often get those. And him and them, he really wanted to succeed to help offensive line coaches get more opportunities. And he had a solid handful of years there. They beat Texas A&M. They hosted College Game Day. Ultimately, I don't think won a Sun Belt championship, but really sad news. Really, really nice guy. Hope everybody at App State and UCF is doing okay. It sounds like it's a really sad situation. So just wanted to pay my respects to Shawn Clark. Really solid dude.
Yeah, I didn't know him really at all, but I've been texting with some coaches this week, and People love that guy, man. People love that guy. So
Yeah, just a really outgoing, gregarious, again, just a really great hang. And so we'll see. Tough to transition out of that, but we will by going into our game picks and our game previews.
Kids are playing their tail off, and the coaches are screwing it up.
An update on the records. David, you and I both went 3-5 last week. Tough. We are both 20-22 on the season.
I'm some kind of conspiracy is going on with that. That's not my fault.
We got a suggestion on a punishment from listener Justin Savage, who says, loser has to go to a restaurant and order Uber Eats to that restaurant from a different restaurant. Winner picks both the dine-in and delivery restaurants.
I like this. I feel like it has to be the same. Like you have to go to an Applebee's and order from a Chili's or something.
For those unaware, when David and I were at the coaches convention back in January, David ordered, was it Korean wings or something?
I got some. So I'll defend this to the death. I ordered some Korean wings from a different place in Charlotte to be delivered to the convention center. But at the convention center, there's a bajillion entrances, but there's a very large Buffalo Wild Wings entrance. It's very easy to find. So trying to be a good human, I ordered them to be delivered to the Buffalo Wild Wings, of which I was standing outside. So on paper, I recognize that getting wings delivered to another wings restaurant is, some would say egregious, but in practicality, I really had no choice. So
I kind of like the suggestion, though.
It is a good suggestion.
Do we want to say this is it? Like kind of like the
I feel like
Applebee's
this has to be
thing?
it, right? Yeah.
Right.
But I think it has to be two similar genres, right? You have to like get Uber Eats, get Burger King Uber Eats to a McDonald's and eat it in the dining room or something.
Yeah, and we should try to find a time where together. Maybe it's around the national championship or coaches convention. I don't know when we'll see each other in person next. But
yeah, the coaches convention is back here next year, Chris. So I'll definitely be there. I will see if you're coming. So maybe we just order the Bonchon wings to Buffalo Wild Wings and you just eat them in there again.
I like this idea, Justin. Appreciate the recommendation. I think we might go with this, and we have the same record here. So like this is the perfect time to kind of make that decision. I like it. Uber Eats to another restaurant. Very embarrassing. Hopefully we do it in person to document it. Thank you for that suggestion, Justin.
It is good.
Okay. Now let's get to the actual games. And
there's
David,
a lot.
I'm fired up about this weekend. I'm going to be home.
Good weekend to be on the couch. That's where I'll be.
You're going to be home. Are we doing a bunch formation after dark on Saturday?
I can. Are you gonna be doing it? Where did you say you're going this weekend? I'm
going nowhere. I might be going to Ari's house for like the noon slate. Still TBD on that.
We'll get Ari on after dark. Yeah, let's do it. We're doing bunch formation after dark this week.
We can record podcasts at the same time and overhear each other or something like that. Maybe. We'll do that after Oregon, Penn State, and Alabama, Georgia. They're both the same time, night games.
Yeah.
When those games end, go to the Bunch Formation YouTube channel. We will have the live stream up and ready to go. We'll also tweet it out. So keep an eye on that. Been having fun with those. This is a weekend where I'm glad I'm home because there's so much. I don't really want to miss anything. And we start off with what I think is the biggest game of the weekend. Oregon at Penn State, number 6 Oregon at number 3 Penn State. Penn State's a 3.5-point favorite. 7:30 p.m. Eastern, NBC. My big thought coming into this game, Penn State has not been an explosive offense at all, and they have played nobody. They have 4 plays of 30-plus yards. This was a problem for their offense last year. It's a problem again this year. I don't know if they can keep up with Oregon. They almost did last year, but they had Tyler Warren last year, and now they don't. That is my concern. David, what's your early thoughts on this game?
Well, they've upgraded the receivers, too. Here, let's take a trip down memory lane here, Chris. Drew Aller in big games, okay? Notre Dame last year, 12 of 23, 135 yards, and interception. The Boise game, which they won, 13 of 25, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns. Oregon, people talk about the Oregon Big Ten title game as like the one time he was really good. I mean, they didn't win that game, but 20 of 39, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, that's pretty good. Ohio State, last year, 13-21, 150 yards, then interception. They lost that game. 2023, 18-42 against Ohio State, 191 yards and a touchdown. Michigan in 2023, 10-23 for 70 yards and a touchdown. They lost that game. And then they lost the Cotton Bowl to Ole Miss, 19-39 for 295.
He is barely hitting 50%, if that, in every
crazy.
big game. Yeah.
And that, to me, when you watch those games, I'm not surprised by any of those numbers because there's a lot of easy throws that he's missing, even last year, where it's just like, you got to have it. And they don't have it. And so, to me, I think that catches up to you. These two teams are interesting because we haven't really seen them really be pushed. And so, I'm intrigued to see this. I like Oregon to win this game outright. White out, forget it. Like, I just don't. I'm with you. I don't think they can keep up. Give me the Ducks here.
I do wonder if Penn State's defensive line will be able to get pressure on Dante Moore in a way that he has not seen this year. And how does Dante Moore respond to that? I think both these teams are really good at running the ball. I wonder if Penn State can kind of muck it up. Because you know, like how every time they play Ohio State and Michigan, it's like a 17-13 game.
Yeah.
And you just don't see the explosiveness from like an Ohio State against Penn State. Now, they weren't able to do that last year. We saw Oregon move the ball up and down on them. That was in a climate-controlled dome, and it wasn't on the road. I think I like Oregon too. I mean, neither of these coaches, Dan Lanning and James Franklin, have good records against good teams, and they have a lot of very close losses. The good news is someone has to win this game, so that will be a notch on both of them.
The Beaver Stadium turf management crew, because they didn't do anything. That grass got to be like ankle high. So
yeah, this is going to be an awesome scene. I'm glad it's a night game.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's a
awesome.
whiteout, not a noon game. I'll go with Oregon as well. I think straight up.
Yeah.
I did pick Penn State to win the national championship that first year. It's possible they've just been holding everything back, you know, in these handful of games that they've played, but we'll see. We'll see if those running backs
we need to see some of that Kolodnicki scheming it up. We haven't seen a ton of that.
Don't scheme it up too much though. If you're running the ball, just run the ball.
Yeah.
So
let's say it'd be the Boise State game though.
I'll go Oregon to cover. Getting 3.5 in the game, I think, is probably a coin flip anyway. Yeah. So that's going to be an awesome game. And we'll finally have something to say about both these teams. We haven't seen either of them do anything. So winner of this game's shooting up into my top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
So we will see. Alabama at Georgia. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite. Game's at 7:30 Eastern on ABC. My thought on this game is that for all the consternation about Kalen DeBoer's tenure in Alabama, the one thing his team has done here and everywhere is they show up in the big games. The big games, the big stages, the best opponents, his teams usually don't disappoint. They got out to that
quick interjection, Chris.
Yeah.
Do you care about them blowing the 28-0 lead last year? Because that to me was like red flag. That was an early red flag.
It's was weird. But they also were able to get a 28-0 leading. It's a good Georgia team. And I think
it's a bit of a Rorschach test. Yeah.
Last year, like they blow out LSU. Like the losses were bad losses. The wins were good wins. That was the whole thing with that with Alabama. Ty Simpson's been pretty good this year. Like he was not the problem, I don't think, against Florida State. And I think Florida State, was that a big game? Well, I think you could say coming in a 2-10 team, Alabama's like a 2-touchdown favorite. Like maybe it's very possible Alabama did just straight up overlook them. And Tennessee was able to move the ball over the top on Georgia for the first time. And you know who Alabama has? Ryan Williams, who's very good at going over the top. So very curious about this matchup. That's not my pick yet, but I don't think we get an Alabama letdown at the very least. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a narrative flipper for them. You know, coming off that Florida State game, like nobody's talking about Bama. Bama's just, you know, we mentioned this after the first week. Like Bama's been the main character of college football for 15 years. You know, whether or not they were playing, like they influenced stuff. They people were scared of them. They were sort of like the big bad at the very end. That's not the case anymore. And so nobody's taking them seriously as a title contender. You know, the way they looked against Florida State. You know, the Vultures are definitely circling Kalen DeBoer. They've been pretty good since then. They haven't been really pushed. But I'm kind of with you on this. I think they I I'm going to go with Bama to cover in this game. I don't think they win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won. Because I'm not that impressed with Georgia. You mentioned Georgia got outplayed by Tennessee in that ball game. They were fortunate to win it. They got that kind of weird kick there at the end. So I'm really curious what Bama can do if they can avoid some of these letdowns that we've seen. But this is the game that I think can get people respecting Bama again. I feel like there's a lot of disrespect.
I think with Georgia, I like their skill players than I thought coming into the year. Like been pretty impressed with Gunnar Stockton, and I'm more concerned about them in the trenches than I was coming into the season. It's kind of a reverse of last year. Gunnar Stockton, I'm very curious. Does Bama make him throw to the middle of the field? Because he did not do that against Tennessee. Every play he made against Tennessee was to the outside. So how does Bama adjust to that? I'm going to go Alabama to cover as well. Do we know if Georgia's going to be wearing black jerseys?
I never care about this, so I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Well, you remember the one they wore the black jerseys against Alabama and got destroyed.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that, but just like ahead of games, like I usually find out what teams are wearing when I turn the game on. I just don't. I never have cared about this.
I doubt that they are. This should be a lot of fun. We're both going with road underdogs. You and I here. I do like Alabama here as well. We will see. LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 1.5 point favorite. The game's at 3:30 Eastern, ABC. My big thought coming into this game is that Lane Kiffin's daughter is dating LSU star linebacker Will Weeks, and they kind of announced this during the game.
Yeah, that's like not enough people are talking about this. First of all, Whit Weeks, I get it. Incredible.
He was good.
A very compelling personality.
Was he the one on the Netflix documentary as well?
I think they all kind of were.
They had the family
I spent
there,
some time around him last year. Did a bunch of LSU stuff, and like every time I talked to him, I was like, I love that guy. Like I get it. Whit Weeks is incredible. A very compelling personality. So more power to her. That's crazy. I have so many questions about how this happened. It feels like probably an Instagram thing, but also like
gotta be.
If your dad is Lane Kiffin. Like, does that enter into the arithmetic at all? Because I'm like, my dad's an SEC head coach, dating a rival SEC player, and my dad's an offensive coach, and I dated a defensive player. Like, I don't know if you care about that, but I'm like, I want to know more about how this came together, and because this is some real Capulet Montague stuff here we got going.
I mean, on. Like, if you're Weeks, like, are you worried this is like a sting operation?
Maybe. I mean, listen, the Weeks, like, they're kind of like the first family of LSU football right now. Like, you got a bunch of brothers on the roster that are good players, and Kiffin is Ole Miss football right now. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Not enough people are talking about this. I will say, on the field, though, Chris, LSU, they're in the top 5 because they have good wins and,
Not in my top 5. Not in my top 5. I did put them up to number 1 after beating Clemson. They haven't lost since. I've got them at number 6.
There is a world in which the way people are talking about Clemson, they're talking about LSU. They're 75th right now in total offense. They got way more talent than that. They should be much higher. And, they could have lost to Clemson. They didn't play very well in that game. Got 5 picks from BJ Lagway at home. He scored 1 offensive touchdown. This has got to be a get-right game for LSU, but I don't know. Ole Miss has not looked fantastic, but I think Lane Kiffin schemed some stuff up here, and we find out after the game that this was a sting operation, and the Rebs get the win. I'm going with Ole Miss to win and cover.
I think Ole Miss is getting better as the season goes along, and that happens in this sport. And there are teams we get to the end of the year we realize are a lot better. This is a team that almost lost to Arkansas 2 weeks ago. Didn't play great against Kentucky before that. But they got it together against Tulane. As of recording, we don't know Austin Simmons' status, but either way, I think Trinidad Chambliss has been very good and fits what they like to do.
I think they're okay with playing whoever they got to play. I think we're going to see Chambliss, but
I'm going with Ole Miss as well, and I don't like that we are all picking the same things here. But this is one of those under the radar games. We got 2 huge games, not only in the night window, but in the 3:30 window as well. This is one of them. The other is Ohio State at Washington. 3:30 Eastern, CBS. Ohio State, 8.5-point favorite. Not as much as you might think. I'm so excited about this game. It's probably a number 3 game of the week. It's such a fascinating matchup. Ohio State going across the country. Julian Sang playing his first road game in one of the toughest places to play. Damon Williams Jr., one of the quiet best quarterbacks in the country at Washington, going up against a really good Ohio State defense. Like, there's a world of possibilities for this game, I think. What is your read on it?
You mentioned it, Chris. Is this the best quarterback that Ohio State has played this year? I think there's a pretty strong case that Damon Williams is. 4th in passer rating this year. Arch, 44th thus far. Washington's spunky. I mean, I kind of tabbed them coming into the season as like my kind of dark horse in the Big Ten. Like if we got to November and Washington was in the thick of the race, I would not have been surprised. The year 2 bump for Jed Fish. We talked to him this offseason. He's talking about Damon Williams like it was a Heisman guy. You just don't hear coaches talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, he was shy about like we're gonna put pressure on this kid.
Fish was on our old show. The last show we did, actually, for that show.
No, was it the last one?
Yeah, it was the last one. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
It had to go up later. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Yeah. And he told us Damon Williams was farther along at this point than any quarterback he'd ever been with, which is saying a lot. And he has lived up to that so far, has looked very good. Dual threat guy. Ohio State's defense, though, so veteran in the backfield. Caleb Downs and all those guys, they're going to mess with what Damon Williams likes to do the same way they did to Arch Manning. On the other side, Washington's got 2 cornerbacks who are 6'4" and over 200 pounds. You do not see that.
Is Tacario Davis going to play, though? I heard he was like kind of banged up. It seems like he's iffy.
Yeah, it seems iffy. They got the other guy too, Ephesians, I think. And Jeremiah Smith is usually physically bigger than every corner he's going up against. That won't be the case in this game. And Washington's pass defense overall is like, okay. I'm very curious if they're able to take Jeremiah Smith out of this game or how they try to do it. I think this game is an interesting matchup for so many reasons. I'm ultimately going to go with Ohio State, giving the 8.5 points because it's Ohio State, because Ryan Day, he's got a better record on the road than he does at home. I really like this defense. The defense travels. I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won this game, though, but I'm going to go with Ohio State. What about you?
I'm going with the Huskies, and word of advice, Jed Fish, put some wings on the helmet. Just try it out. Just see. Just call Delaware up. Like, guys, can we get some helmets? And just see.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah. And like, to beat Ohio State, unless you are Davis Warren, you have to have elite quarterback play. Like, you think of the teams he's lost to, the Trevor Lawrences of the world, the Bryce Youngs, even Stetson Bennett played well. So we'll see. Very, very interesting. Notre Dame at Arkansas, noon Eastern, ABC. Notre Dame's a 3.5-point favorite. Another game that is fascinating.
Yeah, it's a weird game.
Both of these defenses have been very bad. And Arkansas especially cannot stop the run. And you know what Notre Dame's going to want to do in this game?
Hand it off to Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price.
Times. Yeah. I think the atmosphere is going to be awesome for everybody there in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love this matchup. I don't remember what the total is in this game, but these teams are going to score a ton of points. What do you think?
This will be an interesting, like, Sam Pittman back against the wall game. The Bobby Petrino drumbeat is building steam at this point.
Yep.
I mean, we mentioned it. It seems crazy to me, but it ultimately, both Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino, the offseason, the year before last, I quickly identified Taylon Green as somebody that they really, really liked, and got him out of the portal. And he's been great. And this year he's looked even better. He was good last year, even playing through some injuries. He's been even better this year. He's probably one of the best players in the country that nobody really talks about. He's got to take better care of the ball, but he's really a difficult guy for defense to account for. I think he's a better player than Marcel Reed at A&M. They're kind of similar. He doesn't have as good of weapons. I mean, he doesn't have those 3 receivers. We'll talk about some of those guys later. But I think Notre Dame's too good. I think their defense can play a little bit better. But when you can run the ball consistently, I think you can control a lot. I don't know how Arkansas fixes this. They were able to do some kind of weird things to slow down Tennessee's running game last year in a huge upset. But
they switched to like a bare front in that game against Nico.
Yes, I talked to their DC Travis Williams about that after. Basically, like the way that they slowed down Tennessee's run game was they just kind of made Tennessee's run keys lie to them and made a lot of stuff look like light boxes. And then after the snap, they flooded the box, and they kept doing that over and over again. And like Tennessee just couldn't figure it out. Notre Dame's not going to care. They're coming at you. Like, they're just going to run downhill, and you can do whatever stuff you want to do, but, like, they're just going to hit you. And I don't know that they can slow them down. So give me Notre Dame here, laying the points.
It will be CJ Carr's second road game. He did go to Miami, so he is a young guy, but he is experienced.
I'm not sure he's going to have to do very much.
We'll see. I'm going to go with Notre Dame covering that as well. That takes us to USC at Illinois. Noon Eastern on Fox. Illinois star defensive back Xavier Scott is out. I stayed up for that USC Michigan State game, partly because I watched most of it or listened to most of it while driving home from Oklahoma last week. I think USC is legit, especially the offense.
Or legit?
Legit offensively. Wayman Jordan, the running back, former junior college kid, I really love his burst. He hits a hole hard. Jacory Lane, the receiver, didn't play in that game against Michigan State. Seems like he'll be back. You got Lemon as well, the wide receiver. And Jaden Mayava has been very, very efficient and solid in taking care of the ball. USC 6.5-point favorite on the road. We just saw Illinois get torched in the secondary. They've got personnel issues back there right now. I'm going to go with USC.
I'm with you on this. To quote the late Frank Costanza, USC is sort of easing into this season like an old man into a warm bath. They've kind of slowly ramped up the quality of opponent that they have played this season. And it's really interesting. Like, you have Missouri State in the opener, they dropped 70. Georgia Southern, that's like a spunky G5 team, the Clay Helton experience. They dropped 59 in that game. Purdue improved. It's hard to know what to make of Purdue this year. They've been kind of weird, more of almost defensively impressive. They win that game, they put 33 on the board. And then last week, kind of getting a track meet with Michigan State. Some defensive questions emerge in there. I'm not sure what to make of them, but I think they're good enough to beat an Illinois team that feels a little bit fool's goldy at this point to me. So give me the Trojans. I'm also curious, like, just mentally for Illinois, like how you bounce back from that. Brett Bielema is a really experienced coach. A tough coach, but it feels like a crossroads game for you. Giving up 60 and getting humiliated to Indiana is different than giving up 60 and being humiliated by Ohio State. And I think this is going to be a real test of that locker room. I think we'll get a sense pretty early on how that's going to play out.
Yeah. If you want to make the playoff, you probably got to win this game, because I don't know if 10-2.
I mean, are we still talking about Illinois in the playoff, Chris?
We're talking about everybody in the playoff. It's September, man. This is a team that had playoff. This is a team that had playoff goals coming in, almost made it last year. But if you're 10-2 with a 50-point loss, probably not going to do it.
Chris, they lost by 50 points. They're not winning 10 games this year. They lost by 50 points last week to a pretty good
maybe Indiana's really good. We don't know. That's the fun.
They might be, but Illinois is not. I'm confident in saying that. Good teams, playoff teams don't lose by 50 points. Go ahead.
Auburn at Texas A&M. Texas A&M's a 6.5-point favorite. Game's at 3:30 Eastern ESPN. My thought on this game, Auburn's run defense is very good. They are third nationally, allowing less than 2 yards per carry. That's playing Oklahoma and Baylor as well. So it's not like they've done this against nobodies. And we know A&M's going to want to run the ball a lot. So I think some of the matchups here may look pretty good for Auburn. What do you think?
Well, it's a good thing A&M is balanced. I think there's some skepticism around this a little bit from some folks who maybe didn't watch the Notre Dame game closely enough. But for a long time, it feels like A&M's had just these like big possession receivers that I don't feel like they've had this kind of speed for a while. Guys that can actually get open. Like Casey Concepcion really good route runner. They can get open, they can get over the top. I think that balance carries the day for them. I'm really curious too if Oklahoma provided some blueprint to get to Jackson Arnold. It seems like they confused the picture for him. He held onto the ball way too long. Like he was sacked 10 times. I don't know how much that.
Hugh Freeze said about half of those were on him, half of them were on the offensive line.
That's a big percentage. So I'm curious if A&M can do enough where they're confusing him and making him hold on to the ball again. So we'll see. But I'm taking the Aggies here. I'm a believer in the Aggies, man. I went on.
You know what? That's such a dangerous thing to say. That's such a.
I know it is. I know it is. But so I went on the Golikin show. First of all, I feel bad because I did not. I wanted to derail the conversation and just say, hey, Big Mike, your brother Bob, I'm a huge fan of on Saved by the Bell the college years. I appreciate his work a lot. Send him my best. I totally forgot to do that. But they asked me who the best team in the SEC was. And my head was screaming at me, do not say Texas A&M. Do not say Texas A&M. But my heart and what I've seen this year and the personnel, I'm like, I kind of think it's A&M. So, I mean, who else? Like A&M, I think I don't trust them. I can't believe I feel that way, but just based on what I've seen, I think it's A&M. So give me the Aggies here.
I would have said Oklahoma before the material thing, so we'll see on that. I'm going to take Auburn here. Cam Coleman got open a lot against Oklahoma, against a very good defense, and you may want to have a safety over the top Texas A&M because Oklahoma kept him in man coverage, and he made him pay. And I think Jackson Arnold may be able to hit some of those throws. I really like Auburn's defense here. I think they can make enough plays. Hugh Freeze has, I think, called much better games this year. I'm going to say Auburn covers the 6.5. I don't know if they win, but I'll take Auburn there. All right. Florida State at Virginia, 7:00 Eastern, ESPN on Friday. Florida State, only a 6.5 point favorite at Virginia. It's been 20 years since number 2 Florida State was upset on Thursday Night College Football. Shout out to Work Done. And that heck of a scene. Virginia's offense quietly been very good this year. Like, it's not just Chandler Morris. They are 13th in yards per carry. Interesting game here. It feels like everybody's looking at this. Vegas is seeing this as a trap game, with Miami not too far away.
I want to see more from Virginia, just schedule-wise. They put 48 up on a Coastal team that's kind of floundering. And, they lose to NC State, but they put 31 on the board there, and that's on the road, and they were right with them. But William and Mary, Stanford, I think this is going to be a much tougher test. It feels a little bit like fool's gold to me. Meanwhile, Florida State, I'm not sure how good this team is yet, but they're doing what good teams do. And that is beating the crap out of the teams that they play. Obviously the Bama game is what it is. I think people are still kind of confused by that. But you play an FCS team, you win 77-3. You play Kent State, the worst FBS team. They were up 35-7 at the end of the first quarter. That's not going to tell you anything, but it doesn't provide any red flags at all. And so, good teams beat the crap out of bad teams. I think Florida State is a good team. I am not sure yet about Virginia. Give me the road favorites here, Florida State. I think they win this pretty convincingly. This feels like a 38-24 sort of situation.
This is the big one for Tony Elliott, who came into the season on the hot seat.
What's Tony Elliott's best win at Virginia? It has not gone well there. The Dabo coaching tree is one of the weirder stories in college football.
Yeah, I mean, this will be going on the same time as Penn State, Oregon, and Alabama, Georgia. But I wouldn't be surprised if you look and it's like, is that a 3-point game in the third quarter? I could see that
on one of my screens. I'll pay attention to it. I'm excited.
I'll take Florida State as well, but it's a very, very, very fishy line. All right, Tennessee at Mississippi State, 4-0 Mississippi State. Game is at 4:15 Eastern, SEC Network. Tennessee a 7.5 point favorite. Mississippi State pass defense has been very good. They're number 8 in yards per attempt. That includes having played Arizona State, some decent teams on that schedule. What do you think?
I don't know what to make of Mississippi State yet, because I was kind of skeptical about Arizona State coming into the season, but the way that they played that game was really impressive. Mississippi State was soft last year. They were one of the worst SEC teams on the line of scrimmage I have seen in some time. And that does not appear to be the case this year. We've seen kind of a year two jump for Jeff Lebby. But the bigger issue here is Josh Heupel on the road. It's not been great. Last year, they lost to a pretty average Arkansas team. They get dominated by Georgia. They had a kind of a slow start at Vandy. They did kind of rally and win. That was a nice win. Got destroyed by Ohio State. 23, bad loss to a bad Florida team. They blew a lead at Alabama. They've kind of survived a pretty okay Kentucky team. Lose by 29 at Mizzou. Lost by 28 at Georgia. And then in 2022, their best team that Heupel's ever had. They did beat a Pitt team. They needed overtime. They did destroy LSU. That's kind of the only really great road win that he has. But they got dominated at Georgia. They give up 53 at South Carolina. They rolled a bad Vandy team. It's been shaky on the road. And so I'd be nervous coming into this game if I'm Tennessee. I think you're going to get a test defensively, maybe tougher than you think. This line feels a little low. I'm going to take Mississippi State to cover but not win. I think this could be a little nervy for the Vols.
I'm worried we're making almost all the same picks on all of these. We've been very separate on all
I
this.
reserve the right to flip my picks on our actual athletic thing, so we'll see.
I'll go Tennessee just to kind of shake it up a bit. It's not a night game, but it is kind of a late afternoon game. The Cowbells will be there.
Yeah, I don't know what Mississippi State is. I want to see them some more.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of that Arizona State game, but I don't know. Are they legit? Are they like a 7-win team? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it seems like probably, right? They were so bad last year. It's hard to kind of wash that picture out of your eyes.
Yeah. All right. Indiana at Iowa, 3:30 Eastern on Peacock. Indiana, a 7.5-point favorite. My thought, Iowa's defense is not what it typically has been. They're 36th in yards per attempt. Kalika Manis at Rutgers threw for 330 yards against them last year. You know what Indiana's going to do? They're going to throw the ball a lot. Indiana being a 7.5-point favorite at Iowa, just in general, is kind of blows my mind.
Yeah.
And, are people going to overcorrect and think Indiana's a buzzsaw? I don't know, but I'm going to go with Indiana in this one. I don't love Iowa this year.
I'm with Indiana also. Like Indiana, I don't know that we're on wagon status, but I think we're on takes care of everybody but the big boys in the Big Ten. They're 8th in offensive yards per play, 24th in defensive yards per play.
But they haven't played.
I know the schedule is what it is, but like I said, what do good teams do? Last year, what did Indiana do? They beat the crap out of okay teams and bad teams. And they're doing it again this year. I think they do it at Iowa. I think Indiana wins this game, covers relatively easily.
All right, we're going to go to what I'm calling Big 12 coin flip corner because we have a handful of Big 12 games here that could go either way. You got Arizona at Iowa State. Iowa State, a 6.5-point favorite. This game is at 7:00 Eastern, ESPN. Arizona, by the way, number 2 in pass defense nationally, yards per attempt. And Iowa State, not particularly good at anything this year. They're in some of the main key stats, they're not jumping out. I like Arizona to cover here, maybe not win, but getting 6.5 on the road against an Iowa State team that, against FBS teams, they've been good, but they haven't been dominant. I'll take Arizona to cover.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Iowa State. 4-0, but when you watch them, you're kind of like, Arizona's tough to figure too. They put a lot of bad tape out there last year. Arizona was one of the weirder teams in the country last year.
Well, you and I talked to Brent Brennan at Media Days, and he was like, my first year, I spent too much time trying to keep everybody there and give people what they want, because he was hired late because of the Saban trickle down, and he felt like he spent the whole first year trying to be nice to everybody. And he said coming into this year is I'm not doing that. We're doing it my way, or you get out of here. And they're 3-0 and looking a lot better.
I don't know anything, but Abu Sama, big game. Iowa State wins, covers.
Okay, finally something different. All right, TCU. TCU at Arizona State, 9:00 Eastern on Fox on Friday. This is the big Friday game, I think.
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a good one. I think people will enjoy watching this game. These are two really, really interesting teams.
Arizona State, 107th in yards per attempt passing. Sam Leavitt has not been what we were hoping he was going to be, what I thought he was going to be this year. Arizona State beats Baylor on a last-second field goal last week on the road. put it together. I think TCU is just a really good team and kind of a complete team. And getting 2.5 on the road, I will take TCU in this one.
Yeah, you mentioned guys who haven't been what we thought they'd be. Meanwhile, Josh Hoover has been the best quarterback in the Big 12, leads the nation in yards per game also. And you don't really think about it like that. It doesn't feel like they're throwing it all over the yard. No Kaborian Barnes in this game, which I think might be a big deal for them, but I like TCU in this game. I'm starting to kind of be in on TCU and take them seriously as a Big 12 contender. I was kind of iffy on them coming into the year, but you got an experienced head coach. They won 9 games last year. I think we were kind of underrating TCU coming into the year. They brought back a lot. The Frogs, I think they're in that sort of trio with Texas Tech. I'm still in on Utah and TCU. I think those are the 3 best teams in the Big 12 right now.
If TCU wins, I'm probably going to TCU Colorado the next week because we should check in with the Frogs.
Is that in Boulder or is that in
Fort Worth? So it'll be a drive for me.
Oh, that's a sequel to the
yes,
the first one from a couple years ago. Yeah. Right.
Correct. BYU at Colorado, 10:15 Eastern, ESPN. BYU a 6.5 point favorite. I don't know what to make of BYU because they haven't played anybody of note this season. This is the first kind of at least team with a pulse. But BYU also has only allowed 1 touchdown all season. It was in the 4th quarter against East Carolina in their last game. Defense looks legit. I'll take BYU to cover in this one.
I think you're underrating ECU. I think ECU, they're not necessarily good, but I think they're like an interesting test for teams.
Mm-hmm.
NC State passed that test. BYU looked much better. I thought ECU could get a little frisky in that game, and they did not. They got squashed. This is an interesting game. Like Dion kind of downplayed the bowl stuff. They got pretty embarrassed by BYU in that bowl game when they had everybody. Shador's playing, Travis is playing, Jimmy Horn, all those guys were playing, and BYU punked them. Colorado did okay against Georgia Tech, but this is going to be another test on the lines.
They did okay because of all the turnovers.
I know, but they weren't just getting ran over in that game. Like they were losing, but it wasn't. I think there was a lot of folks that wondered if they were just going to get, where they're just moving the ball at will. That wasn't the case. I think BYU, this is a tough line, and Colorado kind of figured some stuff out offensively. It seems like they're back in the Caden Salter business. I don't know that he's quite as good as he might have looked last week against kind of an overmatched Wyoming team. But give me BYU here and the points. I don't love that. And Colorado is an underratedly tough place to play, but give me the Cougs.
Appalachian State at Boise State, 7:30 Eastern, Fox Sports 1, Boise State, a 15.5 point favorite. I have this here because, one, I love that this game is happening. I really love that Boise State has been scheduling these big group of 5 matchups. App State, they had the USF game. I think they have a Memphis series coming up as well. And as, like the ACC and SEC move to 9 conference games with the P4 requirements, G5 teams are getting squeezed out of more of these games. And I've talked to people within the different conferences, especially some in Conference USA, who are like, we should be making scheduling agreements with each other to create some big time games if you're not going to get those P4 games. I think the new Pac-12 may end up doing something like that. So I wanted to highlight this because it's a fun group of 5 game. Neither of these teams are playing well defensively, but Boise is running the ball well post Ashton Genty. In the spirit of Shawn Clark, I'm going to go with App State to cover, though. Just do it for him.
Yeah, too many points. App State covers here. And Chris, your boy Sire Gaines, is he going to lead the Broncos in rushing? Because he's currently second on the team.
Well, they got a few guys. Sherrod from Fresno State was a very good player, a veteran as well. And last one on here, sticking in the Mountain West, New Mexico State at New Mexico. Game's at 4:00. I don't have where it's being broadcast. I don't know if it's on the Mountain West Network or what. David looked that up while I'm talking. But the student section, this is awesome because the excitement around New Mexico is suddenly very high. They have sold out the student section for this game for the first time in at least 16 years. It's possible they could sell out the game. They haven't had a sellout in 20 years. And I wrote about this in the preseason about New Mexico. You lose Bronco Mendenhall, you lose Richard Pitino, your basketball coach, you lose Devin Dampier. Pretty much everybody who did something in the 2 major sports for New Mexico left. And they were hurt by the portal more than anybody else. And so Jason Eck comes in, embraces that community, and they get the big win over UCLA. They've got excitement around this program again, and it's very fun. And I love that places like New Mexico that don't have a major pro sports team have two universities here that have had their ups and downs in both sports. A couple of years ago, New Mexico State was very good in the Diego Pavia days. Now maybe New Mexico could be pretty good. This is the most underrated rivalry in terms of national attention relative to hatred. These schools hate each other. There is physical violence often between these two schools and the people involved. It should be a very fun environment between New Mexico State and New Mexico.
This game is on the Mountain West Network nationally, something called Altitude Sports locally. 2 ideas for this game. One, I feel like if you're a New Mexico State player and you score a touchdown, you need to honor the memory of Diego Pavia on New Mexico's field by pretending to urinate on the field. This has been done. This is the Elijah Moore move. That was more of a canine situation, but I think you got to honor Pavia. And 2, can we get the winner of this game dumped a Gatorade cooler of like green salsa? That feels like what you got to do in this rivalry. So those are my 2 ideas for this game. But yeah, give me the Lobos here. I'm all in on the Lobos.
I'll go New Mexico as well. By the way, New Mexico State beat Tulsa, the team that just beat Oklahoma State. Tony Sanchez, the coach there.
Beating Oklahoma State, Chris, is it's good for Tulsa, but I don't know what we're doing if we're
I do wonder. I at least haven't seen. I wonder if New Mexico breaks out the turquoise jerseys this year.
You have to in an in-state game, don't you?
You have to for the state. They're incredible. Yeah. They might be my favorite jerseys of this season. I don't know if they've announced it, but I hope they wear the turquoise. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right. That's a loaded slate. I don't think we've ever gone through that many games on this podcast, but there were so many that we just wanted to talk about and give a spotlight to as many folks as we can. We'll update you and see how the picks go next week. So with that, we are going to end this podcast the way we always do, and that is by remembering some guys.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes.
And I'm going to go within the spirit of a Penn State whiteout. I'm going to go with Michael Robinson, former quarterback. When I think Penn State whiteout, not even whiteout, but when I think Penn State big night game, I think of the 2005 Ohio State game. They had the Notre Dame game before that, but that is the game that brought Penn State back where they have been for the last 20 years. After 5 or so years of really being down in the dumps and people thinking Paterno was done, they beat Troy Smith and Ohio State in 2005. Still one of the coolest scenes I think I've ever seen in college football. Michael Robinson, who went on to be a fullback in the NFL. He's now working for NBC. So I'm going to go with Michael Robinson.
I'm going to go kind of on a sad note. I'm going to go with Rudy Johnson this week, the former Auburn running back. He died earlier in the week. The local officials are pointing pretty strongly to suicide. I think check on your people. And you never know, but don't let people fall through the cracks. I think 2, just a great player, really fun player to watch. Just a big back, tough to tackle. In 2000, he was the SEC's Player of the Year. I think I had him on one of my very first fantasy teams, playing fantasy football early, in college. And just a fun player. 3 years in a row in the NFL with 1,000-yard seasons and double-digit touchdowns. But just a tough guy to bring down. And it was really sad to see the news this week. And so, Rudy Johnson, we remember you, buddy.
Yes. And a nomination from listener Rob Bentley, who says, segment got me thinking about dudes I want to see get remembered. And while there are a number of great guys from the Brian Kelly, Butch Jones, Cincinnati teams, then he lists some guys I'm not going to list because we limit it to one.
It's a lot. I remembered all those guys.
He says, my one guy would be Ben Mock. I was in college at the time, and the 2007 Bearcats was my tipping point of college football fandom. He was a graduate transfer from Wake Forest and was even ahead of his time in taking the NCAA to court and get an additional year of eligibility. I was in college at the time as well. I guess I didn't realize he did that, but I do remember Ben Mock and do remember Michael Robinson. We'll always remember Rudy Johnson. David, anything else as we wrap up this show?
No, I'm excited for the week. This is my third weekend in a row on the couch. I'm going to Clemson, North Carolina for kind of a little misery bowl in a couple weeks. Or
Are
I
you
guess
going to
next
the?
week, so.
Are you going to go to the Ludacris concert at 10 a.m.?
I'm probably not going to go to the 10 a.m. Ludacris concerts, but myself and I think Justin Williams will be at the game. So I had never been to a game at North Carolina. Now I've gone to 2 in 5 weeks. So this is a little bit like the Colorado experience, but it's been a weird year across the ACC, and Clemson and UNC are in similar spots. So we'll see.
But before next week, we will be live on YouTube Saturday night.
Yes,
after
sir.
Oregon, Penn State, after Georgia, Alabama. Go to the Bunch Formation YouTube page. We'll have live reactions, interactions with you. People bring your questions, your comments, your concerns, your anything. We're going to have some fun and talk about it all. That's on the Bunch Formation YouTube channel. So,
and watch the late games. We watch the late games. We'll have BYU Colorado on there. It'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll have that on too as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. We've done them a couple of times, and we will see. So, for David Ubben, I'm Chris Vanini. Thank you for listening to Bunch Formation, and we will talk to you on Saturday night.
And please bring back the turnover chain. We got it.